Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes, and I don't know how to go ahead with this one because it is truly, truly astonishing. Now, Anna Sarwar is in a very invidious position. His job is on the line, his future's on the line. He knows how bad a position he is in, and he's in a full-blown panic. Now, he did an interview, and he was grilled like a sausage, if we're going to continue that line. Haha. But he was grilled and deeply, deeply questioned about policies. Firstly, about the winter fuel allowance, which I'll just touch briefly on, but then specifically on the one that's causing the most grief and will, I think, be a game changer in terms of the relationship between people and their government. And this isn't something you're going to read about in the mainstream media. So hold on to your hat, ladies, because we're going to tell you something that will absolutely get you angry. But anyway, Sarwar was there. He's being questioned. And you could see he had that rabbit in the headlight look because the questions were good. And they were saying and asking him about why is it that the SNP, who are lying, saying that they are forced to cut the winter fuel payment for pensioners because it's been done in England and Wales. And they go, oh, well, we've got no option. When it's clear they have got an option, but they're not doing it. He says, and why, if the SNP, which for the Labour Party are, they're the government, you're the opposition, you're supposed to be opposing this, why is Anna Sarwar not opposing what the SNP are doing? Has it got anything to do with the fact that his party are doing exactly the same policy in England and Wales? Does he find it embarrassing to sit there and slag off the SNP for doing what his party is doing? And of course, he's like, well, that's a very interesting question. But here's a better one, blah, 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 blah. And then answering a completely different question. You could see he didn't have an answer. You could see him floundering. And it was obvious that he was very uncomfortable in this meeting. Now, that he must have been glad to get off that subject. Then he was asked about energy. And at that moment, his world caved in because he does not want to talk about energy. He really doesn't want to talk about energy. Now, before we go any further, I'm just going to say as a small aside, either today as you're watching this, tomorrow or possibly Monday, I'm not sure when, there's going to be a decision made by the High Court with regards to the Rosebank oil fields. Now, there's a lot of investment, billions of pounds of investment, currently on hold because of the uncertainty of the Scottish oil industry. If, as is expected, the court comes out and says Rosebank cannot go ahead, they cannot develop it as a viable oil field, then that billions upon billions of investment will just chum and evaporate. And it will be the beginning of the end of the Scottish oil and gas industry. It won't, of course, mean that we'll stop using oil and gas. We'll just be getting it from halfway around the world instead. It's madness. And when it goes, it's going to take 200,000 jobs. That's just the initial jobs. Add to that the effect into the greater economy. And so there'll be a lot of businesses closing. A lot of jobs will go in the secondary, tertiary economy related. Aberdeen will go third world like that. All those with skills will take them if they can and go abroad. It'll be a massive loss to Scotland and to the whole, of course, of Britain. And they're destroying an industry that is worth billions upon billions of pounds of income to the whole of Britain. And they're replacing it with what? Big wind farms that we don't own, that are owned by foreign companies. So when the wind blows, they generate electricity. They sell that electricity and take that money back out to whatever country owns that wind farm. Or when the wind isn't blowing, because of the morons that created the contracts, when the wind isn't blowing, the company's going, oh, well, the wind's not blowing, we're not making our money. You need to pay us for the money we're not generating. And then they do. And so that money goes out of the country, going back to the country that owns the wind farm that is now not turning and making electricity. Boy, I wish I'd bought a wind farm. It's okay if you're rich, isn't it? It certainly is very okay if you're rich. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is the one that the media aren't telling you. Because I think if people knew what I'm about to tell you, there would be riots. There'd be 200,000 families up, marching on Holyrood, ready to stretch necks. And not just Holyrood, because of course the British government down in Westminster are involved in this as well. Because for some reason they all tell the lie. Yes, look, yes, we're closing down the oil and gas fields, but look, we're opening up GB Energy. What they're not telling you is what GB Energy is. Because what it's not is an energy company. It doesn't produce energy. It doesn't buy and sell energy. In fact, it's got very little to do with energy in terms of producing energy for the needs of this country. Needs which are only going to grow as all the cars become electric and all new houses are all got to be all electric and all this. No one knows how you're going to power them. They've got no plans to build the 36 nuclear power stations needed just for the cars, let alone powering homes, powering industry, and at the same time closing all the oil and gas fields and laying off 200,000 odd people, as I say, plus the other ones. So that's a lot of dole that's going to have to be paid and no income coming from the oil and gas industry. Incidentally, and I'll point this out again, another aside, but an important one, the oil and gas industry pay their taxes 2 weeks ahead of other monthly taxes. And the reason they do is they use the oil and gas industry money to pay the civil service. They don't tell you that in the mainstream media either, but I happen to know that because a very senior, a friend of mine who's a very, very senior man in the HMRC told me all this. He is London, Westminster, Trafalgar House. He's one of them, one of the mandarins, if you will. Very senior man. I'm not going to mention his name. We used to sit there and chat about this, and he told me all this. He told me all the little dirty secrets that they have. And that the civil service couldn't run without the oil and gas industry. I don't think Starmer and all that know this. Anyway, so you're going to have this problem. So what is GB Energy if it's not an energy company? Well, it's a tax scam. It's a way for rich people to get very rich tax-free. And let me explain how this works. You say, invest £10 million into GB Energy. And then they spend it, waste it, do who knows. They develop green energy alternatives, right? Which won't work because it's all a load of old bollocks. And then they waste that £10 million. And you think, oh my God, my £10 million is evaporated. It's gone. I'm never going to see it again. But worry ye not, Mr. Investor of £10 million. The government are going to guarantee it. So not only are you going to get your £10 million back, you're also going to get paid 7% interest for every year that you leave it with them. Compounded. Oh, and tax-free. So if you've got £10 million lying about, go and give it over there. Get a nice little 7% compound interest tax-free from the government. Nice. Without any risk whatsoever. And who's picking up the tab? You are. And I am, the taxpayer. So that rich people can get ever so rich while the jobs are destroyed for the rest of us, while the energy supply in this country is destroyed, while we have rolling blackouts, while we can't even make a cup of tea because they've switched the energy off, and so forth. And that is why the mainstream media are not telling you anything about GB Energy. It's not going to create 200,000 highly paid, highly skilled jobs. It'll create maybe 100 jobs, and most of them will be admin, low-paid admin. Those at the top will get paid very handsomely indeed, I'm sure, hundreds of thousands of pounds, but most of them will be on little better than minimum wage and saying, oh, well, we created 50 jobs. Yes, we destroyed 200,000 highly paid jobs, and we've turned Aberdeen into a ghost town. But hey, if you're not angry, you bloody well should be. This is going to affect the entire country, not just Aberdeen. And those bastards are sitting there knowing full well what they're doing, taking us for fools. And that is why Anna Sarwar sat in that interview looking and knowing he dare not answer. Because whatever he said would be wrong. Thanks very much. Bye.